councillors and staff that this meeting has been live streamed and recorded, and the recording will be made available on the website at the conclusion of the meeting. Can I further remind you, all present, the local government decision-making affords no protection to councillors, council officers and the public for comments made during meetings that are subsequently found to be challenged in the court of law and determined to be slanderous. So with those comments, could I ask Councillor Thurston for an opening karakia, please?
Colleagues, please be upstanding. Almighty God, we ask that you give us wisdom in the decisions we make here today and give us guidance in working with our regional communities to promote their social, economic, environmental and cultural well-being. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Thurston. So we'll deal with apologies. We have apologies for lateness for Councillor Thompson, and I'll also include Councillor White in that. I'll move those apologies be sustained. Councillor Scott, all those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Public forum. Right, councillors, we have a presentation from the Toi Moana Summer Assistance. So could I ask that the summer assistants in terms of Emma Byerfin and Jack Belwick come up to the presenters table, please. Welcome. The floor is yours. Look forward with interest.
Thank you, Chairman Leader. Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you for the opportunity to attend this council meeting this morning. My name is Catherine Brown and I'm the team leader for our People Solutions team at Toi Moana, which enables the Summer Experience program each year. This morning, we are here for the last part of our annual program where we have Jack and Emma, two of our summer assistants, presenting to council on their time on this program. It has been a privilege to be involved again this year with the program and welcome our 24-25 cohort of summer assistants. As an organisation, each year we continue to benefit from the talent we grow, retain, or hope to have returned back to us as a result of the program. I understand one of our very own general managers may have in fact started on this program, and we have many people dotted throughout our organisation who also commenced employment through the Summer Experience program. I would like to thank Fiona McTavish and our leadership team for their ongoing support and commitment to this program, which enables jobs for our communities as we welcome community members, school leavers, and university students each summer to Toi Moana. This year, the program enabled 27 summer assistants in total, spread across each of our offices to experience and gain insight into council, whilst delivering rewarding work across our region. We were again strengthened by the brilliant minds and the delivery that happens as a result of this program. In addition to what you will hear from Jack and Emma, examples of the work delivered by other summer assistants include, but are not limited to, climate change and geospatial. Kitty worked with our climate change team to establish citizen science programs for monitoring coastal climate change hazards, a focus on partnership with Waihi Beach Lifeguard Services. Biosecurity, Max worked on the Woolly Nightshade wipeout. He supported 191 properties being visited, with an additional 38 scheduled for follow-up, bringing the season total to 229 properties. I thought it was absolutely amazing that when Max was asked what his most enjoyable part of the program was, he talked about the engagement and the conversations he had with our community. Spatial planning. Navneet worked on the Eastern Bay Spatial Plan engagement, reviewing and summarising over 550 points of feedback received through open houses, workshops, online and written submissions, as well as analysing 17 different district and regional plans, policies and strategies as part of a smart growth project. And in the lab, where Mon and Phoebe worked tirelessly, from the micro student, we had 975 tests performed for recreational bathing water monitoring, and our chem student, we had around 11,500 tests performed for the environmental science program, local authorities and other external customer base. My hope is that the summer assistants from the program of 24-25 will leave here as previous years have, with a fantastic experience behind them, that they will have a deepened understanding of who we are and the work that Regional Council does. I hope that they will leave here with stronger job prospects, additional skills, and as ambassadors for both the regional sector and for local government. I hope that for many, their time with Toi Moana was only the beginning of their stories and roles that contribute to their communities across the future. And on the 31st of January, when we farewelled our summer assistants, I thank them for saying yes to joining Toi Moana. Today, I would like to introduce and thank Jack, who spent his summer in biosecurity, and Emma, who spent her time in emergency management. Thank you for agreeing to present today, and I'm sure those attending today will enjoy hearing from these individuals, supported by their leaders who will join them shortly. Thank you.
So kia ora everybody. As Catherine mentioned, my name is Jack and I had the great pleasure of working in the biosecurity team in marine pest advocacy for the summer of 2024 and 25. So my role this summer was really focused on surveying ocean users to assess their knowledge about marine pests, educating ocean users about marine pests present in our regions and ones that we're on the lookout for. Talking to stakeholders around the region and engaging with them, providing them with information about marine pests to be shared with their client base, and just to spread the word about marine pests and how people can help to stop the spread as they use the ocean. So we've got a few invasive species here in the Bay of Plenty, and these next few slides I'm going to go through were actually made by my partner Henry Williams, who was working with me through the advocacy, as well as creating a marine and freshwater pest identification guide. So these next slides are from his work that he did while at Toi Moana. So one of the first ones we have here is the Mediterranean fanworm. So the Mediterranean fanworm is a filter feeder, best kind of characterised by its soft leathery tube that goes up to 800 mils in length, and a helix fan that protrudes when feeding, with orange with black bands and a kind of feathery appearance. So these guys have been a bit of a stayer in the Bay of Plenty here. And the marine biosecurity team has been doing good work to try and reduce their numbers over the years. And these here are just a couple of videos. On the left here, you actually see a video of what one looks like in the ocean. This was taken by the marine biosecurity dive team. And on the right, that's actually, if it's going to play, they're a bit jittery, but on the right there, you can actually see what one looks like outside of its leathery casing. So they're quite interesting critters when they're brought up onto the surface. So another one of the big marine pests we have here is the Asian paddle crab. These guys are highly invasive, and they are very similar actually to our native paddle crabs we have here in our waters. So obviously, as you can tell, they've got the prominent swimming paddles on the back legs, also known as pleopods, and they grow up to 13 centimetres wide across the carapace. And when compared to our native paddle crabs, the main way of identifying them is not only the colour of the carapace, but also the number of frontal spines located near their eyes. These guys have 6 spines between their eyes, as well as along the sides of the carapace, whereas our native ones have 5, I believe. Club tunicate, thankfully, I don't believe we've had any of these since 2020, except for on vessels that have come from out of region. So these guys are a type of sea squirt, and they grow 10 to 20 mils wide and 30 centimetres long, and they are also filter feeders as well. And these guys in particular, they can actually have densities of between 500 and 1,500 individuals per metre squared when left unchecked. So they can obviously reach very high densities and displace a lot of our native species from similar areas, competing with them for resources such as food. And then finally, the Japanese mantis shrimp, the newest one to the contingent of marine pests we've got here in the region. So the first Japanese mantis shrimp was actually detected here in the Tauranga Harbour in, I believe it was November 29th, just last year. So these guys grow quite long, reaching to a size of 185 millimetres long. So quite a large sort of shrimp. They're also known as thumb splitters for their incredibly hard punch that they have. And large compound eyes that allows them to see with very vivid colour. They're a nocturnal species, and just anecdotally, at least since their discovery, whilst talking with some of the fishermen and other boaters and ocean users out at the boat ramps and marinas I've been at, quite a few people have been actually noticing that quite a few of the snapper they're catching when gutting them have had quite a few of these in their stomach and are predating upon them, which is always a good thing to hear. And then finally, probably the most important marine pest that we were focusing on this summer is exotic caulerpa. So you guys heard a bit about this last year, and I'll just go over it briefly. So it's actually 2 different species of seaweed that are collectively known as exotic caulerpa, and in the world, there's over 100 species in the genus Caulerpa. It's native to the Indo-Pacific region, and it's not currently here in the Bay of Plenty, but it is not far from us, with the nearest infestation being approximately 45 nautical miles away from Mere Island. So this was first discovered in Aotea, or Great Barrier Island, in the summer of 2021. And since then, it has spread to many other areas throughout the country. It'll inhabit everywhere from subtidal areas to 50 metres deep, and likes to reproduce asexually via fragmentation. And it can actually do this from fragments as small as 5 millimetres. It's extremely fast growing, and as of August 2024, there's over 1,500 hectares of this stuff across the seafloor in various parts of the country. And it can actually grow on most substrates and surfaces. So just as an example of that, this is a photo of it. In the top left there, you can see it growing through a kelp forest of Aclonia. On the right, it's growing up some wharf pilings there. Bottom left is just completely blanketing a rocky reef, and bottom right is kind of a more sparse covering across just a sandy floor. So if you have a look at this map here, this actually indicates the potential habitat that Caulerpa could inhabit across the top of the North Island. And as you can see there, it makes up an absolutely massive area where this could possibly have a foothold and proliferate through. And this is just an example of how quickly this likes to grow. So in Whangaparaoa, where it was initially found at Great Barrier Island, they first found 10 square metres of it, which was in the September of 2021. 3 months later, they came back and it had grown to 1,750 square metres in only 3 months. And now currently at Great Barrier Island, across multiple infestations it has, there is greater than 850 hectares present at the island. So this is a bit of a history of how it appeared throughout the country. So initially Aotea, or Great Barrier Island, Ahuahu, or Great Mercury Island, the Rafiri Inlet up at the Bay of Islands, Kawau, Waiheke Island, Mokuhinau, and so on and so forth, Fantail Bay, and also now Port Jackson as well. And as I mentioned, it likes to spread through fragmentation. So when it becomes disturbed and fragmented, it can happen by natural events like storms or human activities such as anchoring or accidentally snagging a fishing line in it. These fragments can then be entangled in the gear or freely float to a new location, and these fragments can be transported great distances by currents, tides, and vessels. In particular, one of the main concerns about it is fragments ending up on anchor chains, becoming entrapped in it, and they can actually survive for upwards of a week out of the water in a damp location such as an anchor locker and be transported to a new location like that. So that was some of the main marine pests that we've been focusing on this summer and kind of imparting some education to ocean users on. And as part of that, we've also been running these surveys to find out what people already know. So this is just a screenshot here of the dashboard, which shows all the results we get from our surveys. This was created by one of the other summer assistants in the biosecurity team, Stephanie Shaw. Thank goodness for her, because this looks far better than anything I could have made. And so I'm just going to take you through a few of the results now. So across the Bay of Plenty region, we managed to have 485 total interactions in various areas, primarily focused around Sulphur Point, the 2 marinas here, as well as the Sulphur Point boat ramp, also up in Bowen Town, Omokoroa, Tanners Point, Whakatane, and the Ohopi Harbour, or Ohopi Port, sorry. And of those 485 interactions, 440 were positive, where some education was provided to those we were speaking with. This here, so 2.02, this was at the discretion of the survey, which was myself and Henry, And after speaking with them, we would score them on a scale of 1 to 5 of their marine biosecurity knowledge. So the average score was 2.02, which was up on last year's average score. And then looking at these two, this further separates it down on the left to the average score for people who had trailer kept vessels, and on the right for people who had moored or berth vessels. So you can see there's a bit of a difference there, with generally there being a higher knowledge of marine biosecurity in the moored and berth vessels. So when we asked the respondents if they were able to name a marine pest, 69% of all respondents could not name a marine pest. When broken down further again into berthed and moored vessels and trailer kept vessels, 44% of berthed and moored vessels could not name it, so greater than half of them could, and 77% of trailer kept vessel owners could not name a marine pest. Of the ones that were named though, thankfully, Callirpa was actually the greatest. So 90 of, I believe it was 134 people who were able to name a marine pest knew what Callirpa was, then followed by Asian paddle crab and Mediterranean fanworm. Interestingly, when you looked at the results for Asian paddle crab and Mediterranean fanworm, greater than 75% of respondents who mentioned Asian paddle crab as one of the pests were trailer kept vessel owners, and Mediterranean fanworm were berthed or moored owners, which kind of makes sense because Asian paddle crab is more likely to affect someone who's doing in-harbour fishing, which is more likely to be your kind of smaller trailer kept vessels. And Mediterranean fanworm, obviously a fouling species, would be more of a worry to people keeping their vessels in the water constantly. This one here is the most common responses for when we asked how marine pests spread around the country. So as you can see there, the number one response was actually hull fouling, which is really good because that is one of the major ways that marine pests spread. But interestingly, although Callirpa was named most commonly by respondents in terms of marine pests, its main vector of spread, which is anchoring, was actually the second least given answer by respondents. So it kind of shows a slight disconnect there between, I guess, there's an understanding of what it is, but not exactly how it spreads. And this next one here, this was when asked if marine pests were a problem. 77% of people responded yes, and 23% responded no. And then at the end of the survey, this was just the trailer kept vessels that were asked this. They were asked if marine pests weren't managed, do you think that would have an effect on the Bay of Plenty region? And approximately 87% of people responded yes. So whether the kind of difference between those two numbers there is due to, I suppose, some of the education that was being imparted through the survey, or it might just be a testament to the great work that the marine biosecurity team does here at Toi Moana. And then finally, this is just a little bit about some of the presentations and social media we did. So you can see on the right there, this was just taken at the Bowen Town Sport Fishing Club. I did a presentation there to approximately 80 or 100 people about the exotic Callirpa, all hardcore fishermen and their families and whatnot up there. In addition to this, we did two further presentations, one at Dive Zone to a class of divers looking to become dive instructors and work in the industry. And also just last night to Mount Maunganui Sport Fishing Club, where we presented to approximately 150 people who were just about to head out for the Blue Water Open fishing competition this weekend, as well as nationals, which is beginning on Saturday this week. In addition to this, we had a couple of videos posted on social media, one of which on Facebook had 4,500 views and 1,800 on Instagram. So overall, we've had a really, really great response from the community, both in person, through social media and through presentations, sharing education about marine pests here in the region and also outside the region. So that's it for my presentation. I just wanted to finish off with some thank yous. Firstly to Romany, who was my supervisor, buddy, for my time here at Toi Moana. She was an absolutely wonderful supervisor to have. Secondly to Hamish, my team leader, who was really, really good at just keeping me focused and talking through what was going on and where things could be going better. And then finally, just to the entire biosecurity team for making me feel so welcome. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. Very good presentation. Emma, would you like to do yours and then we'll deal with questions?
Absolutely. Kia ora everyone. My name's Emma and I'm just going to be talking about my experience at Emergency Management Bay of Plenty for the summer. Just a bit about me to start off with. I'm from Christchurch, so I've experienced quite a few disasters in my time, the most notable being the earthquakes, the terrorist attack and the floods. So experiencing all of that gave me sort of like a passion and a drive to understand natural hazards and emergency management from a young age. That led me to my uni education. I was able to sort of explore disasters in my Bachelor of Science, and then I was able to understand that even more in my Master of Disaster Risk and Resilience. That's a photo up there of a simulation that our class did. That was really fun. And because I haven't had enough yet, I'm going back again this year. So this slide is just showing an example of some of the projects that I did that I've been doing while I've been here. MBOP's been absolutely awesome and has given me heaps of work to do. So I've done a lot of GIS stuff. So I've made some paper maps with key spatial information and a GIS incident layer. Both of those are designed to be used in our Emergency Coordination Centre during a response. I've also done some more planning-based projects where I've looked at state highway risk in the Bay of Plenty in the event of a Hikurangi subduction zone earthquake and tsunami, and I've also looked at the resulting tsunami travel times for that. When I get sick of staring at GIS and I don't know what to do anymore, I've also been able to do some reviews of some key CDM documents. The latest of that has been our Hazardscape report, which will hopefully be available in March. And I've also done some reviews for some other documents as well. But one of my main projects that I've worked on in my time here has been something that we call the First Five project. This was inspired by exercise Hodaki. So we activated our Emergency Coordination Centre under the scenario of a large earthquake in the Bay of Plenty, and we got BOP-RC staff to come into our ECC and fill in all of the different roles. On these photos here, you can see people from Public Information Management and Intel. And this diagram here shows all of the key SIMS functions. So in our simulations and also in real life emergencies, these are the different functions that are crucial to ensure a good response. So we had people like from the planning team, they came in as planners, GIS analysts came in as Intel, and we had P&C people come in as welfare. One of our big learnings from our simulation was that the welfare team was one of the most efficient teams of the day. The welfare team was awesome, and one of the reasons that was identified for their success was that when they opened their function box, so when they first came into the ECC, they had a sheet in there that had the first 5 things that they should do in a response. Obviously, when you get into a response, it can be quite a high stress situation. You can get in there and you just have no idea what to do, and then that can just scare you off to the worst start imaginable. So because welfare got in there and they had 5 clear things to do, they were just so well performing and they knew exactly what to do and they were just onto it. That was identified by all of the MBOP staff. So a project that was given to me and the other MBOP intern Flora was that we had to create first 5 tasks for each of the function boxes. These are 2 examples here from the planning and the Intel. So to create these, we met with most of the MBOP staff and we asked everyone what they think should be in here, what's really important, what's not so important and can wait. So a lot of these, so there's some things that are the same and there's some things that are different. So step 1 and 4, they're both the same. So it's turning on your laptop, logging into your emails, your Teams, blah, 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 and contacting different managers from other activated EOCs. You'd probably think that turning on your laptop and looking at your emails is pretty intuitive, but one thing that we found on the day was that actually telling people to just start with that was one of the best factors for calming them down. It was actually really effective. But other steps are also completely different. So it's quite crucial that the planning team gets onto creating the action plan 1. If there's no plan, no one's doing anything. And for Intel, an absolute crucial step is setting up IMO, which is sort of our like computer hub where all the information comes from. If you don't have that, no one knows anything. So yeah, these are in all of the different function boxes, both upstairs in our coordination centre and at our secondary facility at the racecourse just down the road. Yeah, so that's all that I have I'd absolutely love questions if anyone has any. And I'd just like to thank the whole MBOT team as well as Catherine for that awesome introduction.
Great. Thank you, Emma. Councillors, floor's open for questions. Councillor Scott.
Yes, thanks for those. That was really interesting. I've got one question for each of you, Jack. Where was the information? So about 40% it was about a 40% success rate. Interested, did you have any sense of what communication channels worked best for getting the information out there, and perhaps some to avoid?
I guess most of the information towards that would be, I suppose, anecdotal from people I spoke to, mainly at the presentations. So Bowentown was super good when talking to them because you had a wide range of age groups there about who all kind of came over to me and mentioned how could be best to put the information out there. Generally, younger crowds would mention that social media was a good platform for them, whereas for slightly older people, they mentioned that through possibly TV or actual signage out there, in particular in response to the Kalupa, would be the best way of catching their attention and raising awareness within their age group and their demographic. I don't think there's any forms of sharing information that would necessarily be bad, but I guess it just comes down to what's most effective, really, and gets to the most people.
And sort of, in a sense, I suppose the fact that the moored and berthed vessels had a higher response rate, whatever we're doing with them seems to be more effective as well, eh?
Yeah, I think that also comes down to, I guess, the marina locations. They've also been super helpful with and cooperative with allowing us to put up information about some of the different marine pests there, whereas obviously with trailer kept boats, it's more spread out across the region and requires more resourcing than what you would need at just a singular marina. But yeah, I think that too, and also a lot of the people you talk to when it comes to the berthed and moored vessels mention that if you don't regularly clean your boat, you also see effects to your fuel consumption as well as your speed on the water. So it's almost second nature for them to be aware of those things, as it reduces the cost on using their vessels at the end of the day as well. So it's, I suppose, in that case, quite important to them.
Thanks. Emma, one of the things you did was about the resilience of the state highway network, and we've had a couple of issues with that over the last 12, 15 months. Is that information being shared with other agencies who can get ahead of it, NZTA, and so on?
Yeah, absolutely. So that project that I worked on, it was in conjunction with members of the planning team, Kieran and Tara. Tara is our Lifeline Utilities Coordinator with the Bay of Plenty, so she's got all the contacts with those different agencies. And the plan with that project, it's got a few more phases before it goes out. It was just sort of the beginnings, but there's a workshop in May with all of the different Lifeline utilities. So we're hoping that that information will be able to be shared then. But yeah, absolutely.
It might be interesting to talk to Councillor Thurston about, it might be something that comes through his committee, I guess.
Councillor Nees.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming to talk to us today, and thank you for your contribution to Toi Moana over the summer. It's awesome. I've just got a question for Jack, and it's about Kalupa, which I'm quite worried about. You mentioned that anchoring is one of the major dispersal mechanisms. Are there any known instances where hulls have been colonised by Kalupa?
No, not to our knowledge. I don't believe there's any evidence that's been transmitted through hulls.
Jack, I understand there's been some interventions in Northland in terms of blanketing to try and control Kalupa. Are you aware of the success rate in that or not?
Yes, so there has been different control methods that have been trialled. I believe the government's put, I believe at the moment, $15 million towards creating new technology to deal with the outbreak of Kalupa. There's been a few different methods that have been trialled so far. Biocontrol methods such as using kinner suction dredging, UVC light, as well as blanketing the area and using chlorine or salt to try and kill it. Based on the reports that are available from MPI, the most promising one at the moment looks to be suction dredging. So they've done various trials in various areas to test its efficacy, but currently it suffers from poor scalability. So it's not suited to the management of a large outbreak such as that barrier where they've got 850 hectares or more. And it's also rather costly as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. They are still testing out new things and trying to find alternatives as well, but that's currently where it lies.
Councillor Crosbie.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. In all of your work to date, has there been much study or understanding of the human dynamics of a emergency? For example, I too have stood in front of hundreds of angry people who have had significant loss. So it's that human part of, being involved in an event, including the teams of emergency management who also may have suffered, a relative with loss or their own loss, and how that impacts on an emergency management team or the leaders of that team. So what I mean is, we do a lot of processes, which you've done a lot of, but that's part of it. The hard part is people who have suffered loss, and they go through a cycle of just lost, grief, anger, resigning to the fact something's happened, blah, blah, blah. Have you done much work in that space? Yes. If you haven't, I'd really encourage you to do it in your next piece of study.
Yeah, I might leave this one to Chris.
Thanks, Councillor. In terms of the work that the summer assistants have worked on this year and in previous years and years to come, we're not sure if that will be an area of focus. However, what I can say is that the team, all the leaders and the team themselves, we're incredibly well supported by Bay of Plenty Regional Council, and within MBOP ourselves, we've got access to a program called Professional Supervision, which is open to MBOP staff, and it's an opportunity where you can have a professional coach and somewhat of a counselling service as well, so that can help support you through those events. But most importantly, during peacetime, make sure that you are well and you are able to perform at your best, so that if an event does happen, we're well supported and we're well prepared. So our mental health and emotional health is well supported in this team.
Okay, so it just falls to me, Jack and Emma, to thank you both. I'm impressed by the manner in which you've quickly come to grips with some of the issues, both in biosecurity and emergency management. Your presentations were very good quality. I hope and trust you've enjoyed your stay here at Toi Moana. Emma, I heard you say you're going back to continue your studies. Best wishes with that. And we think of our colleagues in Christchurch from time to time in terms of all the emergency management things they've had to deal with. But in the Bay of Plenty, we get our share as well. So thanks you once again. All the best in their future endeavours. All right, thank you, councillors. In the intervening period since I took the apologies, we've had an apology from Councillor White, so we'll just note that. Item 4 is items not on the agenda. There are none. Order of business is no change to that. Declaration of conflicts of interest. Mr. Crosbie.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As a director of Quayside Holdings Limited and Quayside Securities Limited, I declare a non-financial conflict of interest on item 9.3 on this agenda under the heading of parameters for divestment of the Port of Tauranga shares by Quayside Group. As this agenda item requires a decision, I will not be participating in the debate. I will abstain from voting and I will remove myself from the council table.
Thank you, Councillor Crosbie. Noted. Councillor Von Duddleston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My wife holds shares in the Port of Tauranga Limited. I've taken advice and confirmed that I am able to participate in council's consideration of and decision on item 9.3 parameters for divestment of the Port of Tauranga shares by the Quayside Group.
Thank you. Noted, councillor Von Duddleston. And for my part, I make this statement in relation to council's consideration of and the decisions required under 9.3 parameters for divestment of Port of Tauranga shares by the Quayside Group. I'm attending this meeting as an elected member of the Bay of Plenty Regional Council. Also need to note that I'm also a director of the Port of Tauranga Limited as council's appointed representative on that board. I'll be considering matters here that are being discussed with an open mind, bearing in mind my role as a councillor, and I'm not motivated by any interest in retaining my council-appointed directorship on the Port of Tauranga board. I've received and taken legal advice concerning the matter and further advised this meeting that I've declared to the Port of Tauranga board and chair my role with council and that I do not intend to vote or participate in any discussions the Port of Tauranga board may have in relation to this matter. I have no financial or pecuniary interest in either the Port of Tauranga or in Quayside Holdings perpetual shares, preference shares. Right. Public excluded. There is public excluded business to be transferred into the open. There are none. That's agenda item 7. Could we have minutes of the Regional Council 11th December? Please, could I have a mover that they be received? Councillor Nees and Councillor Campbell, you're seconding. Are there any matters, Jane, in terms of matters arising from that? Councillor Campbell? If not, I'll put the minutes be received. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. So that moves us through to agenda item 9.1, which is a chairperson's report. I'll move the adoption of the chairperson's report. Councillor Crosby, second. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Are there any matters arising you want further discussion or declaration on in terms of the chair's report? If not, we will move on. 9.2, statement of proposal, fees and charges. Welcome, Alicia and AJ.
Good morning, councillors. I'm AJ Prinsloo. I'm the financial manager here, standing in for Kumara Nusana, tail end of a much-deserved break. And then we have Alicia here as well, who did basically all the work driving this forward. So we'll accept the report as read and just have a brief summary. So we're here today for the adoption of the statement of proposal for the changes in the fees and charges policy for public consultation. These changes were considered as part of the annual plan process, which council has approved on the 11th of December. So these changes require a special consultative procedure, hiring, including proposals being publicly available, and the opportunity for written submissions. Submitters who wish to be heard by councillors will have that opportunity on the 14th of May, and council will consider the submissions as part of their deliberations on the 29th of May, before adopting it on the 24th of June.
Thank you, AJ. Councillors, any questions? The process, as AJ's just been through here, is laid out on page 39. As he said, there has been previous workshops with council in terms of setting this as this is a formality in terms of going up to consultation with the proposal. Councillor Winters.
AJ, on page 38, top, you've got a bullet point there, fees and charges policy, recovery of actual and reasonable costs of work for fast track approval projects. Who do you send the bill to?
The applicant.
Through you, Chair, the applicant.
Thank you.
Councillor Nees.
Thank you. Very comprehensive. I just wanted to confirm that the only changes we're considering are the red numbers or text and the yellow shaded text. Everything else is existing. That's great. Thank you for that clarification.
Happy to move the recommendation, Chair, 3 of them.
Thank you, Councillor Crosby. Seconded, Councillor Nees. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you both. Councillor Sess takes us to item 9.3. What I'm proposing to do here, councillors, in the initial stage is to move into confidential to give councillors the opportunity to consider any matters that may be required or you require consideration of in terms of the confidential nature of this. So I'll move that we go into confidential.